Hi everyone, thanks for coming through to this video today. Today we are going to draw Santa's workshop. As you can see in the image, it's step by step. The first step I'll just run through quickly. Let's get started. That's the first one, just the bench, then the outline of the elf, then fill in his clothes, then fill in the bench, and then we've got the last toy at the end on top, and then we finally line everything in. So I'm going to give it a sketch. We're going to start with step one. These all come from sheets that are available if you become a member of my channel for just £2.99 a month. You get all of the downloadables. They're all there for members from when I started. I've done three so far, 3 months. I'm on a new channel, but I hope it to go on, and there'll be a different set every month. So this month is Christmas themed and next month is winter. It's also a book. It's available in Amazon. The link is below. And they fit perfectly like into what I call my chameleon sketchbooks. They've got so far, see, this is a big wad of a sketchbook, you can see there, and this is just two months of my work on the channel. Some of them are sketches, some of them are painted, and some of them are done in different mediums. Then we go to the fairies at the back. I had fun with the fairies one. Yeah, so we've had summer and fairies. Now is Christmas, next month is winter. Let's get started. Right, so you want an HB or a B pencil. I suggest you watch the whole video first as well, then get your bits together, and then you know what's coming and you'll be ready, and you can pause it whenever you need to catch up, but it shouldn't take too long because you've already seen what's coming. And then you can also adapt yourself as you go along if you know what's coming. Maybe a couple of liner pens in black. I've got a 0301 micron, a white gel pen just in case you want to do any highlights at the end. I have got a black pen in case there's any colouring needed. I don't really want to use my liner pens for that. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the bottom of the bench, which will, for me, on my sheet, I know you can see I've drawn a little outline there because when I'm teaching, it's easy for me to make mistakes because I'm talking and concentrating on equipment. So I think what we'll do is just draw one line down the middle. Didn't do that very straight, did I? Because I was doing it how I say not to do it, in one line. Sketch down the middle a line, and that will be our first leg. Okay, and then it's just going to have like a V shape on the bottom. All right, and then what we're going to do is just sketch it in from the middle to create that first leg. Simple as that. Now I've gone all the way up there, it's fine. To start with, I'm just going to come in and make square legs of my workshop bench because, to be honest, easier to do that and then put in the other shapes afterwards. And that's what rubbers are for. It's so that you can draw in the bits that you want to draw in that are easier to start with. And that just hooks around that shelf. So I'm drawing in the front version of the shelf. There's another one here. Now this is a level 3, I believe. It could be a 4, I'm not sure. It's one of the more difficult ones. They go from 1 to 4. Make sure you've got a cup of tea with you or coffee, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm going to draw in now the other side. Once I've got those outer edges in, I'll feel more confident about putting everything else in. And I'm just going to turn it round, because it's much easier to draw straight lines coming down toward yourself from away. Oh, I've got sniffs then. I've got a cold coming. My son's had it brewing in me, and I'm trying to get all the drawing videos done before I get too poorly to talk because that probably will happen. Now, this does show the table going back there, and you can, although on the picture it's not showing all of the line spaces, just draw them in, because when you do what's on the table in the front of the table, you can rub those bits out. Just although on the picture it's showing you that there is gaps there, honestly do not worry about that. Let's get those shelves drawn in a little bit. Again, they come round, although there's gaps showing, just draw that shelf in so that you know it's going back there. All right, and then the same here, we've got a shelf coming across here, and there's a little kind of rounded shape there on that one. Now here we didn't draw in the triangle, so I'm going to do that now, and then I can rub out the bit that was on the front. Okay, so now it looks more like the shape it should look. Now what we need to do is to draw in the detail. Sorry about the stomping. My sons have habits, they're teenage boys, so they don't know how to move around the house quietly. It's either stomp, 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 or nothing. Unless they're trying to be secretive, of course. And then they're quiet. Okay. So, just drawing in the lines. And drawing in as many of them as I can. And I'm literally just copying. They're tiny little lines. And sorry, you couldn't see them, could you? And I'm copying it off the sheets because even though they're my designs, it's easy to forget. So I'm just going along and creating detail by just putting in line work. That's all you need. Our eyes will then read it as detail and description of the table. There we go. Okay, we're nearly there at doing the whole table, so we're going to carry on to the next one. I would say that's pretty much the whole table done. We'll just move on to the next picture, and the next picture is drawing in the elf. He's a cutie, isn't he? So let's get him drawn in next. I'm going to draw the top of his... No, I think what we'll do is we'll start with here, the stool sticking out. We'll work from the bench upwards because then we can see where we're at. There's another leg there, and then it comes across here. So they're the bench legs from behind, and then his legs there. So we're just going to draw his leg in, coming around there. You can't really see much more than that. I'll draw in where his bottom will be on the stool. Pull that leg right up. Now we can draw everything else in place from there. So I always say on these, draw from where you've already drawn. So we're drawing in his top here. Then we've got another layer here where his arm comes round. I want to make sure I get this in right. So I think that's the top bit, and I think this curves around here like that. Yeah, I think that's right. And then the arm comes kind of around here. And then we've got these funny little face, I think. They're like cuffs, elf cuffs. We'll call them elf cuffs. I'm not sure. They're just pointy cuffs, aren't they? And then his hand will come up here, somewhere roughly around here. And what we're trying to do is plot in where everything is, because that is kind of the hardest thing done then, just trying to plot everything in. I think this is his hand coming around here. Let's get that in there. There we go. So we've got his hand in. Oh, and he's got a funny little brush in his hand, which we mustn't forget about. Because he's a busy elf. He's working away. Then from there, we're going to draw him in this another kind of elf-like neck thing. So he's got them on his arms and he's got them around his neck as well. So this is where we need to start thinking about where his face will be. And I think that's coming from around there, under his hand and down here. That one seems to be longer, much longer than the other one, doesn't it? It's all right. Okay, so then we're going to draw in where his face is. So it's a little bit higher than that can you see that I've left a mark, a gap there? And then it'll come around here, and then we've got his nose here. Okay, so we're just trying to fill in carefully the main aspects of his face. Oh, and we mustn't forget elf ears. Okay, it's not very often I get to draw elf ears. I've just made a mistake there. So with the face, you have to be more careful. I'm just going to sharpen my pencil, because when you're drawing faces and detail and facial expressions, it's very easy. One slip of the pencil can just change the whole look of the person, of whatever it is you're trying to draw. So got to be quite careful. So we have got a piece of hair coming around the ear. There we go. So that's all the hair on his face done. He's kind of got a little gap there in between that and his hat, and then his hat comes all the way around. Oops, I didn't draw that big enough really. See, everyone, you must check. Keep checking back that you're drawing it right. Okay, so he's got his hat on. We've done his face. Now we've got to do this little bit of shoulder coming round. And there's another, where this point is here in the middle, we need to draw that because that's the middle of his clothes. And then we can draw from here, the other side of him. And then from here coming up, that's where the difference is between his body and his arm. So now we need to come across the table as though his hand's here. Now there's going to be lots of other stuff in the way here, so we're just going to do our best to draw in his cuff and then not worry about anything else till we're further along. I think some of my proportions are a little bit out. That's fine. Okay, as long as we get the general gist that it's an elf working at the bench, it's fine. Like that brush has come down much further than it should have. His hand seems to be lower. It should have been a bit higher. It's all good. It's all good. These are just guides for you to get started on and to get going. These are really good ideas that I do on here for like using in your sketchbook and filling up if you haven't got an idea, something to do. And then once you've drawn it, you can colour in. Right, so now while my pencil is nice and sharp, I'm just going to draw him in some eyebrows, draw him in some nice eyes, some lashes. Again, just a suggestion of eye is fine because it's so far away. And all I'm doing is a curve like that and then drawing the circle underneath and maybe just giving some eyebrows. That's literally all I'm doing there. Then we need to put his little cheeks in, little rosy cheeks, because he's an elf, he needs rosy cheeks. And we're pretty much there for him. Next stage. So the next stage, as I showed you before, is just decorating him really. So you could skip this. He could just be plain clothes. But we're going to do as we're told, and we're going to do what's on there. So let's follow it. So we're just literally drawing in the lines of his clothes. We're doing not straight lines, obviously. They're wibbly lines because it's on his clothing. But you need to follow the direction of his clothes, obviously, to make sure that you are doing the lines in the right place. And then we'll get some on his legs as well, which are down here. Again, just a suggestion that his legs there doesn't need to be too much detail. Again, as I always say, these are illustrations. They're meant to be fun and they're not real life. Okay, let's move on. We've done that. Oh, nearly forgot, there's like little bits of detail on his clothes which also just give the impression of movement in his clothes, the fact that it is made up of fabric. There we go. Oh, actually no, so I see what I've done wrong. So this here is where I started the arm up too high. See, it should be here. And this is where that thing is. And then this here is where the other one is. That's better. Right, so now I can draw the lines in, whereas before I couldn't have fit them in. Definitely couldn't have fit them in. Okay. Then in a minute we'll have his hand and it will all make sense. Right, so next I got all the information in that's needed. Just double check it. Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We're already on stage 4. Now, stage 4 will take a bit of time because stage 4 is, I'll just move it up a bit, is the underneath where all the presents and things are, and things he's already made, and the glues and things like that. So I'm just going to start and do this little batch here, which is a little glue pot, I think we can say that is. And we'll draw little lines on it to suggest it's got labels. Then we've got a little round pot next to it. I mean, these can just all be things he's using, can't they, to build whatever he's building. So I'm using curved lines, a curved line on top of a curved line to create those pots. Like that, okay? And the other one was simply 2 lines, curved at the bottom, came in at the top, and then it had a point on the top, which is the glue bit, and then we just put detail in, okay? It's just that I'm doing it very tiny. Then we're going to have here, we need I think that's just like kitchen towel paper. And if you see this line on the table, that is where it starts. And then it just comes out towards the table like that. And then there's a circle on the end. And there's a circle in the middle. Come out, a wiggly line, and come out like that. And you've done it. That's all it is. It's easier than you think. Then we're going to come in and draw what looks like a present in the background there. So again, it's just a box with some ribbon on. We've done a lot of presents on some of the other tutorials, but there's a lot more detail on these. Like on that roll, you want to put in the lines in, and you want to be darkening the middle of that roll up. Let's go into this section. So I'm going to draw right over by his legs to start with, this pot. And I think that's just some more of the brushes he's got in his hands, really, isn't it, that he's using. Then we've got more presents. And again, it's up to you how you want to draw these. You don't have to draw them exactly as they are on there. I mean, I'm going to go close to it. But I'm not worrying too much because it's yours. Your picture. You make it how you want to make it. They're all very much the same, aren't they? You know, presents, they're boxes with ribbons on. You can't go wrong. And then in the background on this one, it's like there's a lot of presents all in a row back there. And there's a present here in front. And then there's another one here, little one. Okay, but at this stage, I'm not, that looks like it's about to fall off. I'm not being precise about it. Yeah, just draw in. I'm not worrying, what I mean is I'm not worrying about it being exactly the same as that drawing. We're just putting things in that look like presents so that they fit on the shelf, preferably, unlike mine, which are falling off. It's fine. Sorry, I just hit the metal of my camera there. Right. Excuse me for drinking. I am avoiding getting a cough that my son has and trying to stay hydrated and not dehydrate my throat. Because obviously all the talking can be a bit dehydrating. So here is a big box present that I'm drawing in. And then here there is one with a big bow on top, and I'm just drawing it as little squiggly loops. So you can do the same. And then I'm coming out, drawing like a flat square. Another one here. Come down, draw a line here and here, like a V shape because it's going out into the distance. Come down with your ribbons, so across the top and then down. Then across this way and down. Okay, and then same here, ribbons across the top and down. And I think then there's loads of presents across here. Okay, loads of little ones, so it's just repeating the same method really. It's just boxes going back in the distance, giving the impression of presents that are going underneath that desk. 3 there, isn't there? So I'll just draw 3 in. And here. And they are literally the bows. They're just little scribbles, can you see? So this is kind of good for mindfulness art. Just take your time and, you know, there's no need for it to be a masterpiece. It's your piece of artwork, so you do it how you want it to be. Now, we do go over it in pen afterwards, so if there's anything you're not happy with or you would like to change, you can do it then. And we go over it with the pen at the end. And that is, it does really bring it to life. It's lovely. I love the effect. And we're just drawing in these lines to create shadows, light and dark, which is what gives it its 3D definition. Okay, so now we are ready to go on to the next stage, which is drawing the top. So I am going to, I know his hand is here, so I'm going to draw, first of all, that kind of funny shape that's in his hand. It's kind of like, I don't know actually, just, it's like a curve. It's the side of the horse at the, it's at the back. I want it a bit too big. I'm actually going to draw the front of the horse here because I can see myself where the head is in near the hand, and that's what he's kind of brushing. There's the brush, and then round comes the head. Okay, so that's the horse shape there, and then from there we can draw in the other parts. So the legs are just lines sticking out through the bottom like that. They're just shooting out randomly. And then we've got the back, which comes in here. This is the back of it. And that's where his hand is. It's here at the back. So that's where I need to draw the shape in. Now, we're going to come out with the other leg here. And then we're going to come round, draw a line, like so. That's the front part there. And then over here, a bit further out, to show that it's in the distance and going a slightly different direction. We draw it there behind, tucked behind. Okay, so that's his horse done. I just need to define the 3D parts of it a little bit. I'm going to rub the face out. So that's the neck part. Then we're going to come round and do that. Then we need to get the 3D part in. There we go. So now I need to correct my error where his hand was down here, because this is the bit that's getting messy, because that's the bit that even I have got wrong. So come down here, then we need to draw in basically where that shape is supposed to be where his hand is. And that's not what I had. So let's get his hand in. Right, that's his hand. And it's coming round here. And then there's his elf. His elf shapes in there. That's his hand. Yeah. I mean, that's all you see. You just see the little finger. But I was struggling to get that in. Can you see? There's the little finger. Then underneath is his hand, and then it's just the elf cuff things. Yeah. Okay. Good. Like that. So what's next? Oh, it's those strips of wood, isn't it? So we've got here, kind of coming off the edge, but not, they're just sitting on the edge, are these bits of wood. So you can draw them in however you want to draw them. It's a square on the end. Just make sure the top lines are meeting there. That doesn't look right. Yeah, no, that's right. So 1. I'll start that again. You can tell I've done a lot of tutorials in a row today. And the harder they get is when the more tired I am. Right, so draw a straight line. Okay, come up, come down, go in the direction of the table, come back again, and then draw a square. Okay, do the same again. Cross, along, draw the square, and show where it's coming back. All you need to do. And then there is one underneath. So we'll draw that one in as well. It's underneath his rocking horse. And then you can just come in and draw shapes, wheelie lines, just to show that they're wood and they've got little marks on them. Okay, but we'll do more detail on that in a minute when we do the pen, so that's fine. Now remember, our drawings are hand drawn. They are not going to be, the straight lines won't be as accurate and things like that because we are drawing by hand. Ours is not going to be with perfect lines and things. And there is a bit of shadow underneath, and there's like bits of mess here where he's dropped his things. Okay, so that was the final one. Let's click on to the image where it's all black, because what these images, they grey out the bits we've done and show in black what we need to do this time. So this one shows everything. So I'm going to get the 03 and the 01 liner. And what you can do for this is put it on fast forwards if you want and just watch me going fast forward. Or you can speed ahead and just see it at the end finished. Or you can stay with me. It's up to you. Right, I'm going to draw in his elf ear first. Make sure I've got that right. Then I'm going to come in. I'm using the 01 because it's really small and really fine line. And these are on A5 paper. So they're quite small pieces, which is why I was struggling with that hand. I was struggling to get everything in because they're such small drawings. Okay, that's his hat done. I'm going to come in again with his face. And with his neck a bit there as well. I'm going to do his eyes with my pen, still with a 001, because, as I say, it's the finer one and it's much easier to get all the details in. So hopefully you can see that. And it's not exactly the same as the picture. It's fine. Because at the end of the day, these are just ideas for you to springboard from and go off and do your own. Okay. Going down. So here is where his arm comes around. That's it. And then here as well, where his shoulders are. This is where his body is. I come back with the 3 now. It's a bit thicker without me having to press hard. I realised I was starting to press a bit hard there. Come down that line there, that's the centre. And then he's got his funny little elf cuffs on that hand. And I think, for me, it's almost like he's wearing a glove. Okay, there's his hand. And he's got his little, I might just colour that bit in a minute. And he's got his little brush in his hand. So this hand here is the arm, can you see now, that's coming up underneath. And we've got his little elf cuff, and then there's another elf cuff there. Then his hand comes under here, and there's a little finger. So now that I'm doing it in pen, you can see more clearly. I'm coming round there to do his body, and then we're just going to do the side, bottom where he sat, and coming down with his leg. Basically just going to focus on one area at a time. I'm going to get my finer line in to draw the lines of his clothes, just the stripes. I will come in and do those. There's a few more there I've missed on his top. Get those in. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do the lines on the little rocking horse that he's creating, and trying to keep them nice and smooth without stopping and starting and overlapping, which I did just as I was saying it because I was focusing on talking. There we go. It's so difficult to be concentrating so hard and to also be talking. It's really, really tricky. Got the hang of it. I'm getting the hang of it, but it is tricky. There we go. Oh, I nearly forgot the poor horse's eye. He nearly didn't have an eye then. He's also got those legs at the back, which we mustn't forget about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all the main shapes and then come back, rub everything out, and come back, do the highlights, and then rub everything out, like the little details, the shading is what I mean to say. So I know I went a bit wonky on these, so I'm going to try and straighten them up a bit. I am coming down with a cough and a cold, and I'm just, my concentration is struggling because of it. Okay, so I've drawn those 3 blocks there. There was also a gadget here, I think is the ruler, and there's another tool here. Now I'm going to come and move it around so I can draw the lines of the table in one go. And this is where I said, like, now that you've got objects in there where there were gaps, now that we just don't draw them in now. But to begin with, to get the full shape of our table, it was important to draw them in first. This is why I suggest when you buy the book or you print the downloadables that you watch along with me first. I mean, every time I draw these, they come out different. There's something else I've done different, but that's why I do the outline, because I want you to have as close to the real thing on the sheet as possible, which is very difficult to do exactly the same ongoing repeatedly. Okay, so we've got the outline of that done. We're coming in, doing the shelves. I hope my head's not getting too in the front of the picture. It does happen sometimes, and all you can see is the top of my head. Okay, draw that shelf in as far as we can see, and then there's just stuff on it after that, isn't there? Now I think I'm going to come in now with the smaller nib pen. Oh, I'll just draw in the legs of his chair first. There we go. So it looks like he's actually sitting on something, not floating. And I'm going to draw all of my little things inside with the finer pen, because I am getting squished for space at this point. It's a small drawing, and so to be able to get the detail in, I need to be using something fine aligned. So I'm also going to come in and do the details of the table on here like that, and do the markings on the edges and fill in the detail. Okay, so we've done the table really. We've done all we need to put on the table. Oh, I've missed that one. So now we're going to move on to what's on the table. So I did the little pot first there. Now I'm going to do the little present, the little box in here. I mean, this is a more advanced drawing, so I am kind of presuming at this point you are aware of drawing things in 3D and showing them going into the distance. I'm kind of just presuming you know that. But if you don't, it's fine. You can learn by just watching me. So again, another present here, drawing the box going into the back. And then this one, I'm going to have to just change it and make it a bit smaller because it's actually falling off the shelf. And I don't want it to. There, just about sitting on there now. Let's do this roll. So we know that this is the roll of paper. And so just need to give it that edge as it's coming out. Some lines up here. I absolutely love drawing Christmas things and anything Christmassy themed with art I absolutely love. I mean, I don't go crazy with decorations but around the house, but I love to draw anything that's Christmas themed. Fun. Okay, so then there's also got to be lines on the table, kind of just showing where there's a bit of shadow, a bit of light and dark. And we're coming down, just finishing off the presents. The long one, this one, wasn't it? Quite a lot longer than I expected. Sorry, it's the boys banging around again. Nearly finished. We're on the last bit now anyway, and I'll go and tell them to be quiet. Got another 2 to do, I think. Yeah, so another 2 or 3. I think it's 2. Okay. So I'm coming in now with the final presents at the bottom, and they're all, as I've said before, just those crisscross boxes with the ribbon on top. You don't have to worry too much. They don't need to be perfectly straight. Really, at this point, we're just giving the impression of some presents underneath, and it really does not need to be perfect. Go. So here we get some shade. Just draw some of those lines in just to give it an extra dimension. Oh, and of course we need to just do the word, do the little knots that there are on word, do some little lines, some little swirls so we can see that they're wood. And then I think we are done. I'm just looking, checking, put some detail on the tool. I think we're there. Okay, so you can now go on and do whatever you want with this and colour in however you want, but I will be doing, at least one video per design with one way of colouring, and I sometimes do watercolour, sometimes do acrylic, sometimes do colour pencils, and sometimes pastel pencils, so it just depends. And some of those videos will be on YouTube as normal, and some of them will be over on my members section, only for members. So if you want to join that, it's just $2.99 as I've said before, and you get the bonus videos and all the downloadables plus traceables. If you felt that was a bit much, you could trace it first time, and then you could have a go at drawing it freehand another time. Just take it one step at a time. Now what we haven't done is rub out, and then that's where I really think it comes to life, because you get rid of all the sketching and all the mistakes, and out pops the final design. It's just lovely. You can see as I'm getting rid of all the pencil, it just comes to life. Love it. Okay, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again in another video, or maybe you'll pop along to members, which would be amazing. Take care everyone, and have a good day.